Good morning, folks, and welcome to the March 5th, 2018 Milton Town Hall Board of Selectmen's meeting. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, folks, for coming this evening. First up on the agenda is acknowledgments. So under birthdays, we have Kyle Corson with the fire department. We have our very own Michelle Beauchamp, our tax collector, which she is out of the room for now. We have Alexander Monte at the rec, Benjamin Robichaud rec, Josh Byron for the fire department, Jeff Robe for the fire department, Luther Ellis for the transfer station, Alyssa Mitchell for the rec, and Danielle Marique with the welfare and the admin assistant. I want to thank each of these individuals for all their hard work for the town of Milton, and it does not go unnoticed. Unfortunately, on the other side, we have deaths. We have Melinda Smith, and we have Dennis Wing, which everybody knew Dennis. He sat on the budget committee for a couple of years. He started our Milton homepage, and he will be sorely missed. So if you could just please bow your heads for a moment of prayer. Thank you so much. So up next, under old business, discussion and possible actions, we have the bank accounts with the town treasurer and other concerns, and this is Ryan Tebow.
All right. So everybody knows we had a meeting recently and made a bunch of motions to do with the bank accounts of the town. So what I'm going to start with is just a little background since I've been on the board, what I've seen and how we get to the point, or I get to the point where we're at now. So I wrote this up earlier, just kind of organize my thoughts because it's been going on for about a month. So this all started when I received an email from the town administrator back on February 9th, 2018, that had come from the auditors who were following up on some work they performed back in December of 2017. The concern they were following up on was the master cash. Now the master cash is basically money that is kept at town hall for change. The auditors couldn't find any record of this in the bank accounts for the treasurer getting the master cash at the bank. So this is the email that was sent summarizing their findings. I'm just going to read this off. Heather, as a follow-up to our December work, I contacted the treasurer via email. Please see attached on Friday morning. She contacted me to go over the answers on the phone. The following summarizes the call that was centered on the treasurer's question pertaining to master cash. In regard to the treasurer question, she indicated that she lives close by to the bank, and she stops at the bank on her way to town hall. She withdraws her personal account to bring the town hall to save herself a trip back and forth, and also save the town mileage on reimbursement. Therefore, at this point, my understanding is that she does not have a separate change fund at her house, and she's not withdrawing funds from the bank prior to coming to town hall, and of her funds to make change would not be considered commingling in any way. At this point, I do not believe there's any other follow-up that can be done. So when I read this, I personally found it a little concerning and odd. So this caused me to start questioning some things. At this point, I basically learned that it's beyond the treasurer's authority to open bank accounts on their own. Also learned that the Board of Selectmen should know every account that exists in the name of the town. I started to become really concerned because I've never seen any bank statements since I've been on the board, and every time anything's ever been asked about bank statements, whether it be from the board or any other town officials, there's always been a lot of pushback on seeing the bank statements. The monthly treasurer report that I've seen since I'm on the board has never had full bank account numbers, and I have caught wind that money is being moved from one account to another in order for the town to get better interest rate. And none of this has ever been discussed with the Board of Selectmen. So at this point, the town administrator started working with the attorney as to what steps we needed to take next. The first thing we were advised to do was to send out a letter to all the area banks to ensure that no bank accounts that are in existence in the town's name that we didn't realize we had. And any accounts that are in existence and we're not using should be closed. In the meantime, I personally went down to a different bank branch than the one the current town treasurer used, and spoke with the bank manager down there, and I was given several pointers on what the Board of Selectmen needed to do so we could get all the information. While I was at the bank, the only accounts I could get any information on, or the bank could legally talk to me about, was the accounts that my name was on, which was only one account, and at the time had about $80,000 in it. The manager informed me of what action needed to be taken in order for me to walk into the bank and talk to them about any accounts that are tied to the town of Milton. The combination of the town administrator working with legal counsel and myself working with the bank, we had a special meeting on February 23rd to make motions so we could proceed with gathering information on town bank accounts. During this process, we had an issue when an additional selectman was going to be added to a bank account. It was made very clear to the bank that this person did not want their information, specifically a social security number, given to the town treasurer, and that they would come down to the bank and sign what was needed to be signed down there. This was not honored, and this was another reason why we had a special meeting on February 23rd. Through this, and based off phone calls that the town administrators made to the bank branch that the treasurer normally uses, and then comments later made by the treasurer, it was very clear that somebody in the bank would immediately tell the treasurer about any conversation or inquiry any town official had made with the bank. Another thing I found a little concerning, very concerning. So at the February 23rd meeting, that was the first time I'd ever seen any bank statements. I have talked to some former selectmen, and they informed me that they would never receive bank statements either. This issue obviously goes back a ways. So this is basically how we get to the point we're at today. Now, I basically have a series of bullet points of concerns and inconsistencies that we need to go over and correct to move the town forward. So before I start going through them, I'd just like to ask the other board members and the town administrator if I'm missing anything in what I just went through, or if they would like to add anything.
Are you going to bring up the...
Yes, I'm gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm almost set.
No, we're on the same page, or I'm on the same page.
All right, so first, I'd like to go over RSA 4129, duties of elected appointed town treasurers. Specifically, this point here. The town treasurer shall have custody of all monies belonging to the town and shall pay out the same only as follows. A, upon orders of selectmen in a public meeting or by a non-contemporaneously signed manifest signed by the majority of the board. So we have had several issues where checks haven't been signed. There have been several times when the manifest is signed and it has been the treasurer has refused to sign the checks because the Board of Selectmen has not signed their part of the check. The RSA is very clear that if a manifest is signed by the majority of the board, there's no reason why the treasurer cannot sign the checks. I don't understand why this happens, but it's happened several times. I don't really know what else to say other than that's what the RSA states. So this goes into late fees. We have inquired just over the past couple months that I'm aware of an easy $1,000 in late fees. And this is all due to checks not being signed. It's a little difficult to track these late fees because unfortunately the late fee gets charged to whoever, whatever department's bill didn't get paid. So what I'd like to do is actually make a motion that all late fees need to be charged to the treasurer budget if it's due to the fact that the check was not signed.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I mean, unfortunately, just last week, the manifest was signed by both Selectman Tebow and myself. And when I sign the checks, unfortunately, sometimes they stick together. And two checks, unfortunately, weren't signed. But the manifest was signed. So the checks, you know, were left there unsigned, and, you know, one of them was a very important check. It was actually a school check. So that's where it's very important that if the manifest is signed by the selectmen, that the checks get signed. Go ahead, Ryan.
All right. So the next concern was when I went down to the bank, the one account that my name was on initially when I could speak to him, I learned that the new deputy treasurer had not been added to any accounts. Now this was discussed back on December 18th of 2017, and that person still to this date has not been added to the accounts. And what I found even more concerning was there were people on the accounts that are no longer selectmen and are no longer deputy treasurers. So I really don't understand why we have people on accounts that should have been taken off months and months ago. I don't know if the treasurer wants to speak to that.
I'd like to speak to a lot of these things.
Okay.
If you're all right with that.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
I'm
can
fine.
tell you it's the bank policy to keep the signature card current until a new one comes in. And I'm sure the bank explained that to you. I did write them a letter. They have a letter on file to remove those two people we're talking about, the selectman that resigned and also the deputy treasurer. That letter also then stated to add the new deputy. And then at that point, it was changed around and we were going to add a selectman. So I wrote a second letter saying remove those two people and add these two people. At that point, they did signature cards, and the signature cards are here.
And that's only happened in the last 2 weeks.
No. No,
When I was down to the bank last week,
no, before that.
they had not received any of that until just the last couple weeks.
That's not true.
So I was in there and they just filled out all those signature cards. I had to go sign 29 signature cards this
There was
week because I
one-
just was called
There's
on
one
it.
signature card done. And I can say one because previous selectmen had understood the fact that we would, let me just get my notes here, that the general fund is the one that is being paid out of, and all the other accounts are transfer accounts. We don't pay bills out of the other ones at all. We transfer the bills are paid out of the general fund, and then the money is transferred quarterly. There's no checks written on those little small accounts you're talking about. Even when I close an account, I transfer it into the general fund. So the previous boards had made the decision they only wanted to sign the general fund, which is the account you're talking about. And that all the other small ones were only transfers. There's no bills paid out of that at all. It's just transferred to that account.
And the big concern is that general fund account had a member of the Board of Selectmen that
Like I told you,
resigned
that
months
is-
ago,
That's not my policy, that's the
And-
bank policy.
and a deputy treasurer that had resigned months ago.
Nope, they had a letter removing those two, and that's how you remove the current one, is by putting a new one in place.
Nope,
That's what they do, that's what they do.
to remove a name from the account, a new signature card has to be done.
Mhm.
And that should have been done back, well, on 12/18 for the deputy treasurer, and then I don't have the date here when Mike Bolio resigned from the Board of Selectmen. That should have been done immediately, and that was not done.
We were in that transition where Mike resigned and we hadn't,
But you don't need another name to put on the account to remove his name from the account.
you need a new signature card to do that. And we were talking about who that new selectman would be, so we were in a transition period. And that was my understanding, was that we were going to have a new one. And then they made up that one signature card for the general fund, and then it was changed that the new selectman would like to be added to that. So there was another set of signature cards done. But not all of the accounts, like I say, the selectmen had decided that, and it was Joanne, the financial consultant, and
What did the selectmen decided to do?
let me just get my notes for you.
Because I just don't understand when you keep saying the selectmen decided.
Okay.
I don't understand when you.
Okay, it was January 2012. The general fund would pay all bills. Other accounts are for transfers only. The treasurer will sign on these transfer accounts. Closing accounts would be transferred to the general fund. This was a meeting with the town administrator and the financial consultant. And that's what we do now. We don't spend any money on those little accounts. All the bills are paid out of the general fund, and the selectmen sign them.
Right, so that's fine. I get that.
Yep.
But that doesn't address the issue of people being on the general fund account that should have been removed.
Again, it was a timing of changing. We thought we were only going to have one deputy treasurer, a new deputy treasurer, and then it came up we were going to have a new selectman. And then the new selectman did not want to sign on that paperwork that I brought back. And then he changed his mind, he went down to the bank and did want to be put on that. So this is change, change, change. And the final signature card that you have is what you want. It has the 3 selectmen, the deputy treasurer, and the treasurer.
Right, so you're saying you think it's acceptable that we leave a deputy treasurer that resigned
I was told.
and a board of selectmen that resigned on the bank accounts
I signed.
when they resigned months and months ago?
The first letter said to take those 2 off and only to add the deputy.
Right, and in order to do that, the bank needed to do a new signature card. To remove names, they need to do a new signature card, which is what you just said and which
Yep.
is what they told me.
Right.
So,
But then we changed our mind before that signature card was done.
no,
and then
we didn't even have a new board of selectmen member
Mhm.
decided on yet when that should have been done.
Right, we
So
hadn't
it
decided
doesn't
on
make
it.
sense.
We hadn't decided on it.
We were pretty clear that that person was supposed to be taken off the bank account. Why would you
I
want to
just
have
said-
somebody that
I did give them a
isn't?
letter. I went into the bank and I told them that the selectmen had quit. They sent out an email to all of the branches. This person is no longer a selectman. If he comes in and asks for information, he was not to get any information. That was the very day that, I think he quit on a Friday. When I came in on Monday, Heather told me that. I went down to the bank and they sent out this, I don't know what you want to call it, a blast.
Did they send it to you?
Yes.
Do you have it? Do you have a copy of it?
No, I don't. I didn't.
Who sent it from the bank?
It was Charlotte, the branch manager. We sent it to all the branches so that he could not go in and get information or anything.
But I
else.
just find it odd, they just sent an email and they didn't
Because they
do
didn't
a new,
have
s-
the-
they didn't do
have
a
the
new,
signature card.
they didn't do new signature cards that have the name on them, but I guess we can look into that further. All right.
You want to talk about some of these other things?
Yep, so next I get on here,
I want to talk about what we already talked about.
town not receiving bank statements.
What do you mean the town not receiving bank statements?
There's a few issues here. So, the Board of Selectmen never sees copies of bank statements.
Have you ever
I
asked?
know that Heather has asked
They're
for
right
bank
here, they're right in the
statements.
files, and they're locked, and Heather has a chance to do that. She also has access to all those bank statements online. The town administrator, the financial consultant, the bookkeeper, and myself can go online and pull up those statements at any time. But if she
So in
doesn't-
my tenure of being here, I've gotten one month of bank statements. And that's it. It's not Heather's job to get us the bank statements. It's your job.
It's your job to ask
Okay?
me.
I shouldn't have to ask, point of order. I shouldn't have to ask you for bank statements. It's your job.
I didn't know you wanted them. I'm not a
I shouldn't have to ask. We're the Board of Selectmen. We have control, and it's our duty to manage the money in this town.
I agree.
And we shouldn't have to ask for tools to do our job.
I don't know what you want, Andy, if you don't tell me what you want.
So, let's
Go ahead,
back up a
Ryan.
minute. Heather, have you ever been shown where all the bank statements are kept
No,
and where they're filed?
no, where are they filed, Pam?
In the treasurer's file with the locks and keys.
And where are the locks and keys for these files?
The files are locked and the keys are kept in the cabinet with all the other keys there. Also, when you first came on, the bank offered to come in and train you on how to open up all those accounts online and look at them.
Okay, first off, where would I find the keys to these? Let's just,
We have a file cabinet, we have a little cabinet on the wall with all kinds of keys on there.
but how would I know which key to open for the file?
I think you would ask one of the employees. Kathy knows where it is, if you needed it.
Okay. And I'd be able to find all these bank statements in there.
I
Because
think
I-
also the bookkeeper keeps the general fund and the payroll account.
Because I know when we've had the auditor come in, we've had to have you come in and get the bank statements. That's what we've always had to do.
Because all you had to do was ask Kathy for the keys, and she could open up, and she knows exactly where they are.
Then how come when we've had the auditor come in, we've had to have you come in for them?
Because you asked me to come in.
No, it's because we've had to have you come in to have the bank statements. There've been times when you've had to come in and find them.
I didn't have to find them, I know right where they are. And also, like I say, you could have pulled those up on the computer. You have access to all those bank statements.
I've had several conversations with the bank, and they have, mostly have been around payroll, is what I've talked to them about. As far as coming into training, where we use multiple banks, I do not have access to all the bank accounts.
But you have access to these files here that are locked, and the keys.
I don't understand this because I was down at the bank and they made it very clear to me that they didn't really care that I was a Board of Selectmen. They wanted meeting minutes with motions made before they would talk to me if my name wasn't on that account. Heather's name is not on any account. She's tried contacting the bank, getting information, and they won't speak to her either. So for you to say that she has access to all these accounts
Online.
does not make sense.
Online, she can pull those up.
Does not make sense.
Online, she can pull those up.
What you're saying doesn't make sense. How can she
There's
pull
two
them up
ways.
if she's...
Online, she has access, the bank record shows that she has access to those, all the accounts, and she has a password, and they offered training when she first came on board.
Go ahead,
If that
Heather.
doesn't work, then, excuse me, I'm talking. If that doesn't work, then the keys are here for all of these files.
Go ahead, Heather.
There's several, first up, there are several banks, so I don't have access to all the banks. Now I'm talking. So there are several banks, so I don't have access to all the banks. Secondly, I do have access to the fob that I have used when it comes to doing payroll. And there was a woman out one day, I remember when we were trying to do it with payroll. She was trying to be helpful because we were dealing with payroll and we had some changes in staff. But there were a number of issues going on that day and we couldn't get through it. As far as pulling up, anybody can check. I've never been able to access, and I'm sure if you pulled a record, you'd find I've never been able to get access to these bank accounts, and that's something that could be tracked. So
if you're not interested in doing the computer part, the records are kept right here.
I don't think I've said I'm not interested in doing the computer part, Pam. I'm very interested in doing any computer part, and as far as having access to records, I am interested in finding records, but the issue is not my access to anything right now. I don't think that's the question tonight.
That is the question tonight.
No, it isn't.
What is the question?
I think we'll
tonight?
let Ryan
Ryan
ask questions.
Go ahead, Ryan.
All right, I don't see that we're going to get any further with this question, so let's move on to the next. Still having to do with bank statement. So for multiple years now, I've at least gone back 2 years, we have audit reports that are recommending that the bank statements should be sent to the town hall P.O. box. We still do not have bank statements going to the town hall P.O. box. I don't understand why, but we don't. It's recommended by the auditors. I have no clue why we would not be following recommendation of an auditor.
Can I answer that?
Sure.
We don't do that because, again, like I said, we get our bank statements offline. So the bookkeeper, myself, Joanne, all of us use those, pulling them off of the bank site. We used to have them come in the mail, and most of the banks now have gone for a charge for that. It's $3 per account if you have a bank statement mailed to you. We have roughly 22 accounts, so that would be $66 a month. Whereas we can just instantly, Joanne can do it remotely, she can do it from her office. We can get them that much easier.
First off, I don't think Joanne has access.
Yes, she does.
We have more than 22 accounts.
Well, we have more than 22 accounts, though.
So she has access to 22 accounts. We have at least 29 at this one bank, and we don't know how many for other banks.
There are some reports I've given you.
So that means she doesn't have access to all these accounts. And now that, if we go back to the other question that you says all these records are in the filing cabinet somewhere in town hall, so how are those created? You're printing them off and bringing them in every month?
The bookkeeper prints them off herself. She does. I've seen her do that, and I don't bring them in myself. I use the computer here and print
So
them out.
the bookkeeper prints them out. So now the bookkeeper, you're saying, creates your files that
No.
nobody seems to know where they are in town hall?
She creates the files that she uses. She balances the general fund and also the payroll account.
So this file, wherever it is in town hall that's under lock and key, that you know where the lock and key is,
Where everybody
how are
knows
those
where it is.
documents,
Yep.
No, not
how
everybody
are those
knows.
documents created? Are you printing them?
I sit right here and print them out.
Well, I think from this point forward, even if it costs us $3 a month, we should be getting a printed statement from all our bank accounts, and it should be mailed to the P.O. box at Town Hall. So I'd like to make a motion, if the board agrees, that all bank accounts will have a bank statement mailed to the Town Hall P.O. box, and the Treasurer'S P.O. box will be closed.
Second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There also has been issues with accounts where checks have bounced and it hasn't been caught till months later because the person whose account it wasn't notified by the treasurer that
The treasurer doesn't do that.
that a check bounced, and now that person's numbers aren't lining up with what the bookkeeper has and not lining up with what's in the account.
It's not the treasurer's job to do that. It goes to the different departments to do that.
How do the departments do that if they don't have the bank statements?
It's not
Because
a
the
bank
departments are not getting
They-
the big statements.
They don't get a bank statement, although they can. Anybody doing the remote deposits can go online at their accounts and pull those up. But what happens is the bank gives us a bounce check report.
And who gets that?
I get that.
Okay, so how does it get to that department head?
I make copies for my own files and I give it to that department
What was,
when I receive it.
well, why didn't this particular department head receive the statement then a check bounced?
They did. They do as soon as I get it. As soon as I get it, Andy,
Mm-hmm.
I have no interest in taking these home or destroying them or keeping them. I make a note of it, I put a file, I put a copy of it there, and when I balance on the bank statements, it's on there. But the department gets it as soon as I get it.
I thought she said it was months.
It would be
Was
a month,
months.
Andy, if the check bounced on, say, the 30th, and we didn't get it until the 2nd or 3rd,
This-
that would be 2 months.
This was something that our financial contracted service officer found because her books didn't match the other books, and it was, what, 3 or 4 months after the fact?
I've never seen one for 3 or 4 months. Never.
Well, it certainly, it happened.
It's
though.
happened, and I got it in here, but for the sake of time, we need to keep moving. So I'd like to make another motion that all bank statements are to be filed at town hall, and the bookkeeper and town administrator has access to them and knows where they are.
Second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make another motion.
Can I just speak on that?
I think
Because
you already
They
have,
are filed here. They are filed here.
but nobody seems to be able to find them. That's the problem.
Nobody's asked.
That's not true. And I don't know how you can sit there and keep saying nobody's asked.
They have.
Because there's other people sitting in this room that have asked for bank statements over and over and over again
That's not true.
and do not receive them.
That's not
So
true.
I'm just gonna
That's not
stop right there.
Okay.
I'd like to make another motion that each month, the town treasurer will send a copy of the bank statement to the responsible person for the account, and the bookkeeper will receive a copy of all bank statements each month.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, I'd like to ask some questions about their master cash. This is going back to the original email from the auditor. So you told them that you're using your personal bank account to get this change before you come to town hall?
Mhm.
Because I don't understand why.
Well, let me tell you. If they want 2 or 3 rolls of quarters, I stop at the bank in Farmington, which is on my way here, and I bring it in. If we don't do it that way, then I come here, get the money from Heather, go to the bank, charge mileage to the bank to get the coin, and to bring it back. So there's no charge, there's no mileage charge when I do it the way I'm doing it. And I explain that in great detail to the auditors, Pat Mohan. And after I went through it, and it wasn't just a 1-minute conversation, it was 20 minutes. And I asked him if he had a problem with that, and he said absolutely not.
Okay. So, how often do you come to town hall just because of a master cash issue?
Not that often. I think since we started it, what are you looking to say? So since we started it, started on March 7th. And, let's see, it was in June. We did one in June, one in July, 2 in September, 3 in September, 1 in November, and 2 in December. So it's not that often.
But would you agree that most of the time when you come here for that, you're not only coming for the master cash, you're coming for deposits
No,
or other reasons?
no.
Okay. So then, my next concern is mileage concern,
Okay.
which leads into the previous question. So if you're only coming here for a master cash issue, going back looking at your mileage, that should reflect that.
There's nothing on there for mileage for master cash. As I explained to you, I go right by the bank in Farmington, and I bring the cash here, the roll of quarters or whatever. So there's nothing on there for mileage for master cash. There are some TD, you know, TD on there, TD Bank, and those happen to be completely different.
Okay. So all your mileage has round trips to the bank, back to town hall.
Yes.
But my understanding is, from what I've heard from multiple people, is you don't come back to town hall.
We had a selectmen's meeting, we had it in non-public, we discussed this. After we came out of non-public, it was stated by Mike Bolio that it's only a piece of paper, it's not a big deal, that he didn't see any reason for me to do that, but to travel back to the town office in the morning. So I go down, at that time, when this was agreed upon, I would go down and take the deposit and then go home. So my down is there, and on the next day, I bring it back. So that's the round trip. And it was the selectmen.
But you don't come to the town hall every day.
Yes, I do. At that time, we were, it was.
I'm not talking, so I looked
that
at 2
time-
years of mileage.
Yep, at that time.
So let's just look at the last 6 months.
Okay, the last 6 months, we changed it. I recommended a change in the policy. When we first wrote the master cash policy, not the master cash, the internal cash policy, I suggested that we only do $1,500 a week or a day. If there's more than $1,500 in your department, you have to make a deposit that day. At the end of that, you would actually see that on Friday, there's quite a few of them done. So now we went through every single day. The policy said the treasurer will go to the bank every single day. So we had this meeting, it was a non-public meeting, and we discussed how to take better care of this. And Andy particularly liked the idea of the $1,500. And so now we've gone to $1,500, so it's not every single day, no.
We followed the state RSA, is what we copied.
Now, we did not before. The master cash before said the treasurer will go to the bank every single day.
Well, the master cash and deposits are two separate things.
Right, but what we said on the investment, it was the internal cash policy, was the
So-
treasurer to go to the bank every single day.
Do you know what meeting this was where you were told that it's acceptable to, was there a motion made?
We'd have
that
to
was-
we'd have to go back and look at the minutes.
Because, I mean, one selectman saying something doesn't mean anything unless a motion is made. I mean,
Truthfully, I don't recall that.
We'd have to go back and look at the minutes. I don't know. I didn't make a note of it.
And it just doesn't make sense to me because even going back to the master cash thing, if you're coming to town hall to do a deposit, which I honestly think that most of the time, the master cash should be able to only handle when you go to do a deposit. So you're really not saving anything because you have to go to the bank anyway to make a deposit. At that time, you could get what you need for change, come back to town hall anyway, because that's what you've been reporting for mileage for at least 2 years. Turn the deposit slip into the filing cabinet, and also exchange the master cash, and everything would be done all in one shot.
The other way of spreading it out and Ryan, is that the amount of cash walking out of this building. And I guess it's a security thing. If I just bring the cash, my cash, in and trade for a roll of quarters or whatever, there's no security for town money. The other way around, if you take your deposits and then you add the cash for the currency exchange, you've now increased your liability.
How much money are we talking, Pam? I mean,
$300, $400.
I don't think, how often is the master cash you need that amount of money to change?
Oh, she just said that, not that often. It's usually like maybe once a month.
Right. So if it was done when the deposits are done, then you're even bringing less money back and forth to the bank.
No, you're bringing back the coin of currency that she wanted. So now you have,
Right, so if...
when you're coming back here, the other way, you're coming back with just bank receipts. This way, you're coming back with cash. And so some of her requests were $350, $200, $350, $440, $350, $250.
Right, but what was the time frame between them? If you do it every week, that dollar value is going to decrease drastically. If you wait a month until you use up almost all your change and your master cash is all $100 bills,
Then you need
of
to
course,
talk, you need
of course, it's going to be larger sums of
You need to
money.
talk to the town administrator. These are her requests for what she wants. If you want her to do it legally or whatever.
I mean, I
that's
would
fine.
think the two of you guys could talk together and
I thought we did.
figure that out.
I have her written notes. She sends me emails.
I just find this round trip mileage thing a little concerning. Something doesn't seem right to me, I would be honest here.
Are we talking about the master cash or
The mileage,
the mileage? So I go to the bank, I make the deposit.
but you don't come back to town hall.
I do the next day. So the mileage is there, the mileage down and the mileage back.
But you don't always come back, though, the next day.
We were just talking about that, Andy.
No.
Is it the
Thank you, Pam, I realize that,
Mhm.
all right?
And
But you don't always come back, though, the next day.
I don't, and I had permission
Thank you.
to do. I have
You don't have permission from myself, you don't have permission from Selectman Tebow or Selectman Long.
I did at the time,
No, you
from
didn't.
the previous board.
Is she coming back for to pick up another deposit, so it's a separate action, I guess is the question.
Right, that's,
So is it another deposit, is it another action, or is it? a
So
follow-up?
during that day, in the morning, let's say, I bring in the receipt from the day before, and I pick up the deposit for today. That's an in and that's an out.
when you come back the next day, you're also got another out going to the bank.
Right, so every day, there's an in and an out. And now, you asked me not to do that in one of the meetings, and I said, fine. So now, I go down and I come back.
You don't come back, though, you said.
Yes, I do.
You said you come back the next day.
That was the policy, and now you've changed that. So I abide by the new policy.
Well, when that discussion was made about the policy, it had nothing to do with how you're reporting mileage. That wasn't even brought up.
Not even a little bit.
Wasn't even a question.
You mean the new policy of down and back in the same day?
There was no policy about down and back in the same day. I mean, I was under the assumption that if you're reporting mileage, that you're going from town hall to the bank and back to town hall,
That's what I'm doing.
the slips are being put in the file like they're supposed to be, and that's actually what you're doing. But you're saying you're coming back the next day.
That's
I
what
mean,
I
it's
was
just,
doing before you passed that policy that said that no one shall take bank records home with them. The previous board.
So then, there was bank, okay, so the bank records were kept at your house previously to when we discussed that at the last meeting? Is that what you're saying?
Before you voted that, I would, after I do the bank deposit, this piece of paper would come home with me, and I would bring it in the morning. Now, when you changed to the fact that no one shall have bank records at their house, I have not done that since then. I've abided by the new policy, and I abided by the old policy.
What's
Right.
the policy there?
I think that we should have a further investigation done on the mileage for the last 2 years at least.
You making a motion?
I would like to make a motion to have Chief Kraus do an investigation on the town treasurer mileage for the last 2 years.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, I just have to say, I'm very disappointed in how this conversation has gone, but is what it is and can't do too much more about it. One thing I want to clarify is that the town treasurer report that the Board of Selectmen has been receiving does not have all the account information on it.
I never said it did.
It has partial account numbers on it.
That was the
Most of the
previous board's
time.
choice.
Most of the time, we get it roughly at the end of the month. Sometimes it's a month or two behind. And I know there was previously statements were made that it sounded like the Board of Selectmen gets this statement every month and it has all the information on it, and that has not been the case since I've been on the board.
Can I address that?
Go ahead.
May I have permission, please?
Yes, I said, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I
Yep.
couldn't hear you.
Yep, no worries.
You're talking about when I talked about in candidates night, I have a transcript of exactly what I said. And I said, this is a report I give to them every single month, to the selectman, the bookkeeper, and our financial consultant. It's a monthly treasurer's report that notes each account by name, account number, all activity for the month, and the ending balance. I did not say that it was a full account number. Previous boards had asked, before we used to do that, have a complete account number, and then the previous boards had asked that we not disclose that. Okay. January 2013, they were worried about the confidentiality of seeing a complete bank number on there. So we went to the last 4 digits. When you pick up a bank statement on the checking accounts and like that, only number on there is the last 4 digits. So that was their request then. On June 2013, they wanted the general fund added to the bottom of that list. They did not want to see any account number. They did not want to see any activity. They just wanted to know what the fund balance was as of that point in time. As compared to the end of the month, you might have, say, $500,000 in there. But when I do the report and I finally get everything in from all the departments, that balance changed completely. So the town administrator and the selectmen asked me if I would only put in the balance as of halfway through the month when I was balancing it. So there's no account number and there's no activity. The only thing they want is what is the balance as of today. And then I asked them, because it was the town administrator, it was Liz Dion that was there and one of the selectmen, and I said, because why? And they said, because it changes so drastically. And so I agreed with that. That was, like I say, November 2015. So it was the previous boards asked for that format.
I thought you said June in 2013.
I beg your pardon?
I thought you said June in 2013.
June in 2013, they added the general fund, no account number, no activity.
So was that discussed in a public meeting?
I assumed the town administrator was giving me instructions from the board. And I followed up again and I asked about the same thing in her office with a selectman there. And I asked him again, why did you want that? And he says, because the balances changed so dramatically on that. And as far as when you get your statements, I usually try to get it by the 3rd week of the month. We have had instances where departments have month after month have not turned in any receipts at all, and I note that on the bottom of that. So I shoot for like the 3rd week of the month.
right?
Do you-
I go.
Okay,
next
go ahead, one more thing. Yeah, go ahead, and then I go.
So, we've sent the letter out to the banks, and I don't know if you just give us an update. I know I got this folder here that we've got some responses back. Looks like we're still pending some.
We're still pending some, we're getting some back, we're getting some balances back. We've gotten them back from 3 banks. So we're getting responses and they're coming in. So hopefully we'll get those back within the next week or so and be able to move forward.
But we gotta get the deputy treasurer to sign the signature cards.
At this current bank, and then hopefully, I don't know if she's on the other bank accounts. That's another question. We have to find out at the other banks.
Because when I went down and signed them, she was the only one that hasn't signed.
And did you go, Tim, did you go today? Oh, we talked about that. So, the only question is about the other bank accounts. Is she on the other bank accounts? We don't know.
Well, it'd be a
Are the
good
other
question.
banks?
Do you know if she is?
She was on vacation.
No, I understand.
Oh, excuse me.
I understand that, but is she on the
Is she
other
on
bank
the-
accounts
At the other banks.
at the other banks?
We haven't done that yet. At that point, you folks said that you wanted to take care of everything, so I've left it to you to do that. I would like to note, though, excuse me, that you, Ryan, you went in and added your name to the accounts that are on the Conservation Commission. You cannot do that. The Conservation Commission, 4929A says the duties of the treasurer, and the treasurer will pay out money belonging to the town, and shall pay out the same only as follows. Section B, in the case of a Conservation Commission established under RSA 36A, upon the order of the Conservation, you cannot sign on, none of you can sign on the Conservation Commission.
Okay. That was all based off from recommendations from the attorney.
Yep. I don't think the attorney
And
really researched it correctly.
you say, I went in there and did that.
I saw your signature. They
That's
asked-
because you went in there
Yes.
and put everybody's names on all the accounts.
No, I
And
did
we all
not.
went in there and signed.
No, I did
So
not.
I was asked to go in there to
did not.
sign all the signature cards that you had gone in and changed. So to say, I walked in the bank
I did not do that.
and I put my name on the account is not true, and you are lying.
You sat in this meeting when you talked about that we're going to close all the accounts, we're going to do this, this, and this. I did
Maybe we
not
should
go in
share it
and
again.
request those bank
Mhm.
statements at Federal Savings Bank.
Plenty of information.
Excuse me, a point of courtesy.
Thank you.
If there is a statement which can be contradicted by fact in place from a third-party source, do it. If not, do not state what cannot be proven. Anyone, either side of this argument. Thank you.
So my big concern, thanks.
Hold on just a minute.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
When somebody tells me I went in and added my name to an account in a bank or tried to add my name to an account of a bank, and I did not do that, I am not going to sit here and not say anything.
I did not ask to have those signature cards made up.
Neither did I.
Who did?
I was
Who did?
contacted
I got a call.
by the
I got a
bank
Call.
I got a call by the
and was
bank.
asked to go in and sign a bunch of signature cards for changes on the bank accounts.
So you got a call from the bank and said what?
I got a call from the bank manager, the actual bank manager, and said that the signatures cards are ready, and could the selectmen please come down and sign them. That was the beginning and the end of the conversation.
You had 4 motions that Friday afternoon at 3:30 when we had your special meeting, and one of them was that you were to be added to all of the accounts. Those motions were given to each one of you, and it did not say accept accounts that are Conservation Commission funds.
Who gave those motions to the bank?
No, I'm saying you folks voted on that to add all of those.
Okay, I'll give you that, Pam, but you previously said you said, Ryan, you went into the
I
bank.
did, I saw you signed those signature cards.
But who gave those motions to
We
the
all
bank?
signed them.
I know, but you shouldn't have. You had legal counsel.
But who gave
Legal
those?
counsel should have said to you that under RSA 4129,
Yeah.
you will not have anything to do with conservation funds.
All right, hold on a sec.
Who gave the motions to the bank?
Those are online, anybody can go in and read them.
But who brought the motions to the bank is the question on the floor. Who brought the motions to the bank?
I assume you did.
No, I didn't. I haven't been to that bank.
They can actually go online and they can read the minutes.
Wait a minute.
No.
What bank
No.
is going to go online and search for town meeting minutes to see if we can add people's names on the account, Pam? That makes no sense.
No
They would
sense.
actually read that because you said that on the very first motion that the employee at the bank had been.
So who brought the motions to the bank?
I
Did
don't
you
know.
bring the motions to the
No, I
bank?
did not.
Because you asked for a copy of them that meeting.
Yes, I have my copy.
So I guess I don't understand how these signature cards have been created, because
Neither do I.
I didn't go to the bank with the motions.
I didn't go to the bank. I haven't been there.
Interesting, isn't it, Ryan?
Well,
It just doesn't make any sense.
It should have been started with your town attorney.
The town attorney hasn't contacted the bank.
The town attorney should have said to you, yes, you can do this motion, but you cannot sign on Conservation Commission funds.
Point of order. I mean, we understand that.
Yep.
I mean, really, it's very concerning to me that we don't know how the bank got the motions. Number one. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
Can I tell you, other banks have gone online and read your minutes? They've read,
It's just,
they have read the fact that a selectman was upset with the bank, and that's why they're closing all the accounts. They went on and read the fact that every account should have the selectman added to it. It went on and read that the selectmen want this, this, and this. Those motions at that public meeting are public knowledge.
yeah, but I find it very hard to believe that the next morning, the bank got the motion,
That was on Friday.
all right, then Monday. And I just find that very hard to believe. I'm sorry, Pam.
I think your counsel should have said to you to write that.
I think if you would
write
just
that
say,
motion.
yes, Mr. Chair, I did bring the motions to the bank,
I did not.
and just
I
be
have
truthful about
I
it.
have calls from other banks who have read those minutes and questioned it.
Do you have anything else, Ryan?
well, I guess I'm just wondering, because Pam, you actually said to an employee that you could have the bank pull the video when she went and made change one day. I'm just wondering, since you're so close with that bank, maybe you should ask them to pull the video, or maybe we should. Because you said that they would be happy to pull video for you.
That person I asked if they did not go to the bank. That town employee, I asked her if she went and got cash instead of getting it out of the master cash, and she said it was not her.
Well, it's just funny that you asked that employee, you said they'd be happy to pull video for you, so they're willing to pull video. I mean, maybe they could pull video to see who went, because if it wasn't anybody here.
So why would TD Bank say to me that they would read those different things to me? How did they know about it?
No?
You,
Nay,
yeah.
no.
Do you have anything else, Ryan?
No, we're not. I mean, we've
It's not-
spent more time than we need to on this. We need to.
Okay.
We need to.
I will make it very clear that the penalties that the town is being charged for late fees immediately stops. It is not fair to the taxpayers. The taxpayers vote you in to do your job, and it immediately stops. You know, we got over $1,000 worth of penalties here, and it is not fair to the taxpayers to have to take that burden for someone not doing their job.
May I have your recognized, please?
That's it.
I would like to see if you can put that, the fact that when that bill was submitted to the bookkeeper, when the bookkeeper did that bill,
That's it. We're moving on.
I think he has a right to speak.
Yes. I do.
If you started it, I'd like to see you
thank you,
finish
everybody.
the report.
Thank you.
Yes.
We have, thank you, Bob, we have, all right, numerous penalties, okay, that the town is occurring, all right? And it doesn't happen once, it hasn't happened twice, numerous times, all right? And, I mean, just these two, we're up to $700.
You know, from what I can understand, there's different administrations putting different rules, and nobody seems to know.
No, this just happened. This just happened, Bob, okay? Just happened. Last month and the month before.
May I speak, please?
It happened on the 8th month, and it happened on the second month
February.
of February, right.
So do you have proof when that bill was given to the bookkeeper? The bookkeeper cannot do that bill until she receives that from the department head. So I would like to see proof when that bookkeeper got that, when that bookkeeper did that manifest, when you came in and signed that manifest, it was ready for me to sign it. You're talking about taking late fees out of the treasurer's account. I think I would like to see proof of why that bill was late.
And this,
That can be all tracked.
That can,
That's all tracked, it's all there.
If you're gonna take it out of my account, I would like to see the proof when that bill was given to the bookkeeper, when the bookkeeper did that.
yeah, no,
And
like Ryan said, that can be all tracked.
then let's track it then.
And moving forward, there cannot be any more fees, late
I
fees.
agree. I am dead on fees.
Uh,
I've always been dead on fees.
Because it's not fair to the
I
taxpayers.
think
I
that the
agree.
concern is the fact that when the board has signed off on the manifest and the board has signed off on checks, they were constantly having to chase the checks to be signed. And we even saw that as recently as a meeting ago.
Yeah, last
Right.
Friday.
There was checks in there to be signed
When was that?
Last Friday.
last Friday.
And you all three asked to be, and there was other people.
That was like 10 minutes before I was ready to leave. I was.
Yeah, and we said that there's a couple of
There
checks.
was 2 checks. How long does it take to sign 2
And,
checks?
and
Because I like to check what you do, Ryan.
But
Well, you-
then-
This is what you don't understand.
I
The
understand
RSA
that,
is
Ryan.
very clear
Mhm.
that if the manifest is signed, you need to sign the check. That's your job. The RSA is very clear, it's in black and white.
Yep.
And we need to move on because we have
Can I
other
answer
business
that?
at this
I'd like
meeting,
to-
and I'm not going to
answer
keep
that.
going back and forth
I'd like
over
to
this.
answer that one last one.
Go ahead.
Attorney Sessler, I had that conversation with him, and we had a town administrator here, Tony Minko. We sat down and we talked about it. When the manifest was there, and when the signature was not on the check. And Attorney Sessler said that you needed both of them. So you don't just need 2 selectmen signing off it. That I was going under, that was the town attorney's advice, and that's what I've been going under.
I was here when Sessler was here as well, and I had had that conversation with him. And he said if the manifest is signed, there's no reason why you should not be signing the check.
No,
I
this
don't know
is-
about any previous town administrator,
this
but
is-
right now,
Yep.
this is what we have.
That was
And we
not
need to
told
move
me.
forward.
That was not told to me. It was told to me in the presence of the town administrator, Tony Minko, and Attorney Sessler. We had that conversation about that.
Okay.
And he particularly said, do not sign a check unless a selectman has signed it. And like Andy says, he sometimes doesn't sign the checks. The treasurer should not sign a check unless there's the first line, has the treasurer, has the,
Yeah, but the RSA does state,
RSA, which I
Pam,
read off earlier.
it does state that if the manifest is signed, then you can sign the check.
I will give you a copy of it.
no,
It's
I don't
even
I don't need
highlighted.
a copy of it. All I know.
You can take this.
All I know, thank you, Lynette, I was going under what the town attorney and the town administrator told me. If there was a check there and there was no signatures on it, I was not to sign it.
Okay. Okay, I understand that, Pam, but we've moved on with town attorneys, we've moved on with town administrators, and, you know, we just gotta be vigilant of what, you know, it shouldn't be, it's not fair to the taxpayers to have to take the burden of late fees.
I agree. I
And-
abhor late fees. And this was never communicated to me. I'm still going under the assumption of what Sessler and Tony Minko told me.
Okay.
If this was changed, I think I should have been told about it, and I have not been told.
But you're the treasurer, and you should know the RSAs. You tell us
I
them
do.
all the time.
I do.
Yes, you do.
And I actually, not knowing
When it
if I was
benefits
right or
you.
wrong, I asked the town attorney and the town administrator, and truly said, If the selectman does not sign that check, you do not sign it. And that's what I've been going under, and if you had a different opinion, I would have appreciated knowing that.
Okay, we all set?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Pam.
Thank you, Andy.
Okay. Up next on the agenda is the town clerk reception, chair donation, and welfare bicycle donation. So we just need,
I'll make a motion to accept the donations for the chairs and bicycles.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you to the anonymous donator. We appreciate your donations. Up next is the wastewater contract.
Right here.
Sure.
Yeah, I have no objection to doing it in open session. Is this something that is more appropriate in a non-public session? I mean, we've always done it in the public. I just wanted to...
Yeah, no, that's fine, the
Okay,
public,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
What's that? Oh, you got it?
There it is.
Okay.
There's no, I think you have a copy of it.
Mhm.
There's no, I didn't make any changes to it. It's, this was dated 4/17, so we got a little while before we have to make a decision, but I just thought I was coming tonight about this other valve project. Thought it'd be an opportune time to at least approach the subject to see if there was any communications needed in terms of this contract, if you guys felt like you wanted to do with it. Mr. Long, I don't think I've met you. You must be the new selectman?
Temporary. Dale Sprague. Nice to meet you, Tim. One question.
Yeah, sure.
This is taken care of every year?
Yes. Yeah, it's a
yearly
contract.
thing.
Yeah, it's a yearly thing.
Is this contract relatively similar to the one we had last year?
It's,
Been the same for
yeah, it's actually the same
many
contract.
years, except for the price. I think.
And are you happy with it?
Yeah, no, I'm fine with this contract. Alls I need is a motion to accept it and a motion to have the board sign it.
So moved.
Well, there's no, you have a blank one, don't you?
Yeah, we
That's
just,
the one.
this is the one, we just gotta figure out,
What you want to do for
The-
a raise, if any?
Yeah, what would you,
because he normally gets the regular COLA and the merit,
Right.
so that's
3.7. 2 and 1.7, 3.7.
3.7.
So
Okay.
I don't have any issue with this contract by any means. I'm just, are we doing it a little premature? Should we? I don't have an issue with it, but I know, I mean, we do have an upcoming election, and I just don't know if, is it fair to do it so soon? Not, I mean, I'm just bringing that up.
We
I
did
don't
it
have
last year in the
any
spring,
problem with
too.
it. So, I just remember, I think.
I'm a little early, Ryan, and I know that
Because
I was coming, I would just bring it to, if you don't want to do it.
I don't have an issue, but I
You
just,
can just sign it after after Mr. Long is gone and get a new selectman or whatever.
He's
Yeah,
a nice
'cause-
guy.
Yeah.
no, I'm just wondering, because I know.
Andy's running, right?
Yeah, no, there's
They
two,
both are.
yeah.
Maybe two.
So if you want to wait a month, that's
What do you want to do?
fine.
Yeah, because when does this expire?
July.
April.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, we did it last year, the end of April, I thought.
Well, we signed them for
'Cause I remember.
17 and 4/26, so.
Yeah.
So if you want to hold off until after elections, that's no issue with me.
I
Okay.
don't have an issue either
As long
way.
as you
I
guys are
just-
happy with
What do you
we're
think,
doing,
Heather?
and-
You think we should do it?
I think anything we can get done, it's good.
Okay.
To
Yeah.
move forward, I just need a
I
figure.
mean,
I just need to see
it-
his last year figure.
I mean, he, since I've been a selectman, it's every year, unless we were in a default budget, unfortunately, he didn't get the merit, but every year he's
Just need a
gotten it,
figure.
so.
We don't put it out for bid or anything?
No,
It's-
we,
If you're happy with it, then why reinvent the wheel?
yeah,
Okay, the only thing is Dale, do we have last year's contract? Because I didn't know you were bringing this in tonight. So I just need the figure. I can figure it out.
That's what it is right now, right there.
So,
So maybe while Heather figures that out, do we want to jump to the next one?
sure. Yeah, you can, well, she's figuring that out, Gail, actually, you can talk about your project.
Yeah, yeah. This is, I have the plans with me if you need to look at them, or you guys are welcome to come down and meet me down there sometime if you need to, want to see what the project is. These are large plug valves that are used to control the flow of the sewage in between individual lagoons. And these were put in 1987. There was nothing wrong with them at the time. They were standard practice. But what they are is metal on metal seats. And there was no mechanical gearing, any leverage to move these things. Even when they were brand new, I had to put a cheetah bar on them to move the damn things because they were just so big and cumbersome. Over the years, I've lost one. I just lost the last one this past year. They're no longer functional. So right now, the flow comes in the large lagoon, goes to 2 and 3 and out, and that's all it can do, which is not an issue because that's the way I've always run the plant, and that's the way it was set up to run like that. It would be an issue if something happened to one of the lagoons, major expansion, I had to divert and so forth. But I think what's coming up is within a couple of years, we're going to have to remove the sludge out of the large lagoon. We've been monitoring the sludge levels almost annually. We did it this past summer, and we're starting to get up, 4+ feet in some areas. Effluent quality is still excellent, hasn't affected that, so I don't think DES will come down and say you need to take that out. If it was affecting the quality effluent, they certainly would. I wouldn't let it get that far, but they could and probably would. But at some point in time, we're going to have to take that sludge out, and when we do that, it would be advantageous to have all these valves functioning correctly. And the other thing I think that would probably happen, whether I'm here or somebody else is here at the time, is that when we take all the sludge out of that lagoon, it's an opportune time to either redo the aeration system that's in there or do a possible upgrade to something else that might be more current at the time. So really need to have these valves replaced. And so I gave you a budget synopsis, what I think is pretty appropriate for what we need. Got the cost from the manufacturer on the valves. These are the new valves. These are rubber seated valves. I've been using them in the water system since 1981. They're excellent. There's no metal, freezing up on them. They're rubber seated, so they work well. Plus the new ones have mechanical gearing in them, so you're turning a little wheel and you get the mechanical leverage. So either me or the next person is going to be able to go in there and exercise the valves like you should be able to. I went down and saw SUR Construction. I don't know if you guys are familiar with SUR or not. They're just down the road a little bit.
Yeah.
Awesome guys. They do
Sites, utilities, and roads.
They do fantastic work. I've had them in Farmington for a number of projects. Do awesome work. I talked to Bill, and he looked at the project, and he's the one that quoted the price on the replacement of them. We need some adapters, some flanges, but the one that I do need a diving crew to come in, unfortunately.
I will not volunteer for that.
Well,
You're a good sport.
all these lines are underwater, valves are underwater, so what we have to do, unfortunately, is we're going to have to bring a dive crew in And we're going to have to put airbags into the lines so that when they're doing the work in the vaults, these are 10, 13 feet below grade. So these guys are in a confined space and underwater when they're working. So we need to make sure everybody's safe. So we need to insert the airbags into the lines to prevent the water from coming in. I budgeted for 2 days for the divers, one to do the insertion and one to do the extraction of the airbags if we need them. What we want to do is we want to set them up with an air line and a rope up to the surface of the water. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to go out with just a boat, let the air out and pull them out so I don't have to incur the second day, but we put it in here just in case we did need them. So other than that, I mean, I got about $106,000 in this project. This is, I think, the first, first major expense we've had there since the plant was built in '87. So, I mean, I know it's a lot of money, but really need to get it done and fairly soon. And I'm retired now, so I got more time to spend. And I figured it was a good time to, get it done. This would probably be I'm thinking an August, September time frame or something like. If you're happy with SUR doing the work, obviously they're going to be the guiding purpose here. I mean, I got to go find them, see what they've got for contracts, and work around them. This is probably a week job for them. I need to fit in with their schedule more than anything. But I still think it's going to be a late summer project. Let the flows get low enough, and what I'll do is I'll just shut down for a week or two, whatever we need to do to get the work done. So basically that's it. This I showed you the funds with the former commissioners and the Board of Selectmen. We've been putting some money aside, so there's sufficient funds within the sewer department budget to cover the expenses. The project goes well. I think we may want to take a look at replenishing that money, maybe a slight adjustment in the sewer fees going forward, but that's a separate topic we can take a look at. It depends on how comfortable you are with the current fees. If you don't want to replace it, that's fine. But there's certainly plenty of money to do the project, right now. So I wanted to get your blessing on it so I can proceed, and unless you want me to do something else. So.
Yes, just
Yeah,
one
yes,
question.
go ahead, Tim.
What's the condition of the lines, the pipes themselves, throughout the whole town?
The sewer lines?
Yes.
Oh, good, very good. Yeah, I just did them in 2016. We sewer jet and clean every line. We're in good shape. Have about 4 or 5 manholes, frame and covers, that either need to replace the frame and cover or cover on them that I found cracked and were a problem. Bought those in the 2017 budget. I just got to find somebody to physically do the work in 2018. And I noticed Pat had painted a few frames and covers. I guess his plows are hitting, so we may have to throw those into the mix too. So I think he's probably a little frustrated hitting some of these frames and covers. But the lines are fine. A little bit of sewer manhole frame and cover work to do. That's it. So.
Can you foresee any other major expense that the town might incur within the next couple of years?
I'm going to say no, with a caveat that the Great Bay Estuary, I don't know if you, it's kind of, I don't know where it's at right now. It's kind of fallen away. I haven't heard too much about it recently. There was, I think Rochester and Dover, Portsmouth, I'm not sure about Somersworth, Newmarket. There was some of the larger wastewater facilities had lawyers, and they were fighting with trying to not have to spend the amount of money they're going to have to fight the nitrogen reductions that they were going to have to go through, and phosphorus. we're so far up the river on Salmon Falls, plus a very small discharge, that I don't think they're gonna come after Milton for years and years and years. They've got, Rochester is gonna be building a brand new plant. Dover, Portsmouth is already building their brand new plant. New Market just did theirs. So they're hitting all the big ones right now. But there's some disagreement, has been right along, as to how appropriate the information was that they had gathered about the Great Bay in terms of nitrogen and phosphorus and what was causing it. Is it the wastewater plants? They're easy targets, and they should be doing a better job with nitrogen and phosphorus removal. But they're easy targets, and that's why they get selected. But I think we're far enough away in a low enough effluent discharge that you won't see us for many, many years to come. So other than that, plant runs excellent. Effluent has been fantastic. So I don't think there's any major issues coming down the pike. So
Thank you.
yeah.
My only question is, Dale, so when do you plan on doing this project? I know you told me, but
It really doesn't matter. I'm thinking like August, September
in
time.
August and September, okay. So my only question is, and I realize that these fees are paid by user fees of the people that are on the district.
Right.
But we have to also look out for the users. That's
Sure.
our job.
Right.
So what I'm thinking is, now, I mean, because should we try to get another bid? Get a couple more bids on. I know you can't get bid like on the flanges and stuff. I know that's probably standard.
No, those are the materials part of it is the easiest part to get second and third pricing on, and I can certainly do that because there's multiple
I'm just
suppliers. It's the construction guys that are hard to get. This is a very small job for these guys. In fact, I was surprised that Bill Credo even wanted to do it, but he said he was fine doing it. He'd done some work for me before. So I don't know if Apex down in Rochester would be willing to do it or not. I can talk to them and see if they would do it. So
Could you just, is there any way that you could just get another estimate?
Yeah.
I don't want to make this any more.
no, I can do it. I just wanted to
difficult
see if the board was okay with the project, that we'll get going on, 'cause I got to have some lead time on ordering the valves, that sort of thing, and I can sharpen the pencil maybe on some of the fittings. I'll talk to some guys about the way. Because what happens is you can envision these. Most of these are three-way and four-way valves. Mostly three-way valves. I mean, so they're fixed in place. We've actually got to cut the piping down inside that. Take the old valve out, put the new one in, bolt it back up, and then we got to hook it back up again. So there's a couple of ways of doing that. I picked what I thought was the cheapest way to do it, but we can take a look at that. So materials part of it. Might be able to, I got prices from E.J. Prescott. Might be able to go to half a dozen other places and see if we can sharpen the pencil on some of that stuff. And I can talk to Apex down in Rochester and see if there's anybody else that wants to do that work. It's just it's kind of not really specialized, but you're not going to get an earth guy to come in and work on valves and stuff. It's going to be somebody that does that type of work, that has the equipment and the knowledge and that type of thing. So.
What do you think, guys?
Yeah, I think to follow town policy, we really should be getting multiple quotes.
Yep.
I agree with Andy. I don't think we want to make it any more difficult on you. And don't want to complicate it, but just to follow the policy wherever we can.
But I was more, that's fine. I was more,
that,
if you were happy with the pricing, that's fine. I can go get quotes, but I just want to make sure the project is okay, that we can
definitely
continue to move forward.
It has to be done.
Yeah, okay.
That's because if you end up with a problem with one of your liners or something, right, you're going to be
in
big trouble. It's going to cost us a lot more than.
Right. Yeah, this is something we can plan for, get done under control measures and that sort of thing. So I think it's a good time to get it done and so forth. So, but let me go out and see what I can do on pricing, and I'll get back to you in, I don't know, several weeks, a month, whatever it takes me to do, is just the contractor.
Yeah, because, I mean, because you said you weren't going to August, it's September, so
Yeah,
this
that's
is.
why
Yeah,
I figured that the flows will be low enough like that, it's gonna take me a while, because I have to lower the levels of the lagoons down, so I can take in a week or two of flow, plus there's less head conditions. If I take off 3 or 4 feet of water, there's that much less pressure. So if one of the airbags does
yeah.
go, guys can get out of the hole.
They have the contract.
Yeah, so.
Okay, I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
So, and this is his contract. His contract is $32,568.60.
From 31, 396.
From 31,
396.26.
396.26.
All right. Do we need to, in the motion, add pending the budget passes? Because if we go to a default budget, we would go back to that number, right?
We would go back to this number.
Yep. So, if you want to make that motion?
So I'll make a motion to approve the wastewater department agreement for 2000, from May 1st, 2018 to April 30th, 2019 for $32,568. $32,568.60, pending the town budget passes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And just make a motion for me to sign?
Oh, and I'll make a motion that the chair sign for me.
Okay, thank you. Second it, all in favor?
Aye.
And he does a good job.
Yes, Dale does a very good job. Thanks. Yeah. We would love you too.
And I'll get it to bookkeeping, and hopefully the budget passes, and we'll be good.
Okay, so up next on the agenda is the schedule for the BOS meeting date adjustment.
Thank you.
That's, you put that on, Ryan.
All right, so just a little bit of housekeeping, I guess. I'm not quite sure what happened, but the New Hampshire DOT parking downtown
You're welcome.
and the scheduled BOS meeting date adjustment are the same. So the two more down, New Hampshire DOT parking downtown.
Mm-hmm.
What I wanted to talk about was, we currently, I believe, the next Board of Selectmen meeting are scheduled to meet with the DOT about the parking issue downtown.
The next one, or it's the one after?
It's the next one, but we want to change that.
The next one.
The 19th,
Okay, yes, okay.
is what he's saying.
All
So,
right.
after giving that some thought, I think that we as a town need to come together and know what we're asking, what we want from DOT. And I don't think we're gonna have the time to do that before that meeting. And with the upcoming election, I mean, we know we're gonna at least have one board member change. So I'm thinking we should move that forward probably a month. I don't know if Chief Kraus wants to add anything to that.
I think Mr. Smith should be involved also.
Yeah, I think
sorry?
we should have fire, police, public works, and we should probably have a workshop session
We
to
talked
discuss it.
We talked about having a workshop to discuss it, and then scheduling the meeting.
You fine with that?
Yeah.
You
I'm
like
fine
the idea?
because, ultimately, the decision is gonna come back to what this board wants the police department to enforce on state property. As I've told you guys before, if taxpayer dollars are being spent to keep that park open for people to use it, we shouldn't be blocking people from parking there. I understand they don't want people overnight parking like has been done for the last 15+ years, but we need to have some other type of plan that's gonna take place. If there's no parking allowed to be there, then we can't be spending taxpayer dollars to care and maintain for a park that is technically state property.
Right.
But the area does make for a safety issue, particularly during the winter months.
It has this year for maybe 1 or 2 cars.
Okay. All right, yeah, no, I'm fine with that.
I guess I'd make a motion that Heather contacts New Hampshire DOT to push that meeting out roughly a month. And then based off from that, at the next meeting, we'll need to discuss it again to see when the board and other members of the town that need to be involved, we can maybe have a workshop session. So we're all on the same page, so when DOT is here, we're not all saying different things.
And maybe the department heads can talk about suggested workshop dates in the meantime, after I get the date.
I'd like to just see the DOT meeting happen at the first meeting of April. That way we can get this off of our plate and we're not dealing with this any further after that. You guys can have the new selectmen get sworn in on the 19th. We can do the workshop the
April
Monday
2nd.
after, and then the Monday after that, we can deal with meeting with DOT.
So I'll see if they can do April 2nd, and we'll try to plan a workshop before that. How's
Yep.
that? That
Sounds
work for
good.
everybody?
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Okay, you got a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, up next, Ryan.
Ryan, you're on a roll.
Yes.
All right, up next is political advertisements. I just don't want to spend much time on this, but I just want to make it clear to the public what went on and how it went on, because I think different departments got accused of things that they really had no control of. So this has to do with some political advertisements that were recently removed around town, including in-state right-of-ways. This was all done based off RSA 664:14 and :17. So when this issue first came up, I know Heather contacted me, and I believe she contacted all of the selectmen. And basically she had received a complaint about the signs, and wanted to know what our opinions were to go forward. Push came to shove, eventually get pushed up to the state level, correct, Heather?
Mm-hmm.
And she ended up getting a phone call from the Attorney General.
Their office, yeah.
So the Attorney General office called and basically instructed Heather that for these RSAs, you will remove the signs. This includes signs in the state right-of-ways.
It was a Friday. It was a Friday morning when I talked to the State Attorney General's office. I talked to a woman in the office, and I said, okay, we'll call the board and try to schedule an emergency board meeting or a non-scheduled board meeting. They said, you don't understand. This isn't something you have an option on. It has nothing to do with the Board of Selectmen. It has nothing to do with the town. It's a state law. It's nothing to do with you. According to the RSA, there are three departments in your town who have authority to remove those signs. One is the chief of police, one is the DPW director, and the other is the code enforcement officer. Being a Friday, I knew the chief had other commitments that day. I knew that our code enforcement officer happened to be off that Friday. So at that point, it came down to finding my DPW director. I called him and told him I was informed by the Attorney General's office those signs needed to be removed. I gave him that instruction, and that was that. It wasn't personal. It had nothing to do with what's happened in the past. I can't be responsible for that. But the state law is the state law, and we needed to act on it. End of story.
This is just for state roads?
No, it was for anything. It was anything on public. It was public. It was on the town roads everywhere. If we had to hold them for 10 days after the election, people could pick them up and make them aware of where they were to be picked up. I put it on the town Facebook page, and I made sure it was on the town website so people knew we weren't deciding to just take their property, because I wanted people to have access to their property. But
Just for the edification of these people,
mm-hmm.
the town owns how far from the center line of the road?
Town, is it 33 or 24 feet?
24 feet for the
Yeah.
town and
Yeah.
30 feet for the state?
I think it's 33 or 24. It's something like that.
It's different on every road.
Yeah. It depends on which way you
Different
are.
on different areas of the roads,
Yeah.
especially if you go through downtown where the road narrows. If you do 30 feet from the center line, But if you're downtown, the state owns all the sodas inside of Pizza Nut.
And then there's, yeah, it depends on where you are, but,
Thank you.
because sometimes you're measuring by rods too in old roads.
Okay.
So basically, I didn't have a choice, and we got a lot of flack for that, but
Those are
Okay.
the job.
yeah.
Yep, thank you. Okay, all set?
Thanks. Yep.
Okay. And so up next is the banking decisions from the Board of Selectmen.
I think you all have this information. We talked about this briefly, individually. Since we're going to be switching banks, we kind of need to get something in place for the first payroll in April. We've gotten some information. This seems to be the most popular bank with the most municipal experience. Best rates, and they would, if we go with them, they would like to come out and speak with the board on the, what's the night, 19th. So they will be out here on the 19th if we do go with them, to give a presentation. And they have experience. We do have some accounts with them now.
Okay.
And they are where we're actually earning our interest now, the majority of our interest. They have also said they would maximize the interest, and they are local enough to provide services for us for deposits and everything else. And the area towns are using them, very happy, very pleased. I called them, talked to them.
Okay.
So I make a motion that we use TD Bank for our banking services.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So to clarify, that would be all the bank, everything that's moving out of federal savings would be moving there, correct? Okay.
Yep.
And I will
And just
schedule.
for little clarification to the public is, you're only allowed to use certain banks. Like, we couldn't
Yeah.
use a credit union.
Right.
It's very limited on your choices. And Heather has done quite a bit of research on this bank and has got all positive feedback, so I think it'll be a good thing for the town.
And I think we'll get quite a bit of interest because of the way they're going to handle our account. So, and obviously, that's where we are getting our interest now. So, they will be out then.
Okay. Very good, thank you. Up next is the approval of the minutes.
I make a motion that the minutes of February 12th, 2018 be accepted as read.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Do you have the minutes signed?
That she did, yes.
Okay,
That's why they're close to you.
very good. This is notice of appointment.
Well, that's the second thing.
Oh, my bad.
Sorry. I gotta be careful where I put stickies.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're good there too.
Mm.
Gee, would have signed off on this if I wasn't careful.
Oh, it's not good.
Oh, it's just me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, up next is the treasurer and the expenditure report.
I have an expenditure report. I don't have anything else.
Okay. And it's hard to, right now, being,
The budget hasn't been approved, so everything's
right,
a negative. Hopefully it will get approved by the voters next week.
yeah. So, okay, all set with the expenditure report. Administrative comments.
I have several. I think I'd like to start off with a positive thing. Actually, I've got a couple positive things. The first one I'd like to start with is I'd like to read a letter that I got a copy of. It deals with one of our chiefs. It's from a local attorney, and it was written to our our chief of police, and it says, "I've been meaning to write you for some time, but things keep getting away from me. I very much wanted to express my admiration and respect for the way you handled the situation with X when she was suffering from depression. As you know, I am the executor of X's will, and I'm taking care of her affairs. In the course of that, I had the occasion to review your report into your encounter with X and your success in getting to know her to agree to go to the hospital. I don't think a lot of people realize that police officers in small towns face the same kind of difficulties, tense situation, and risk as officers in large departments. In your encounter with X, I thought you handled the situation with great professional expertise and compassion. I wanted to take the time to tell you that the skill and dedication that you exhibited in that situation is very much appreciated in this quarter, and I wish it was equally appreciated all across the board. Thank you for what you did for X. She was a good person, although struggling very badly at the time you helped her. Yours truly, Emmanuel Krasner, Esquire." And I wanted to point that out because we don't point out how much good our police officers, and it's specifically our chief of police, does for this community. So thank you, Chief Kraus.
Thank you.
The next one I'd like to say something nice about is our other chief. So I guess this is the chief night. He's not here tonight, but he was selected, and when I called down, they said that less than 3% of the people that apply was selected to go to the National Fire Academy in Maryland in the end of April for the Leadership and Supervision series. And it is a course that deals with creating environments for professional growth, perspectives, and thinking frameworks for success, and the tools needed to perform effectively in the fire and EMS environment. And the topics in this course will include adaptive leadership, change management, active fellowship, effective communication, assessing situations from multiple perspectives, fostering creativity and innovation, professionalism, resilience, emotional intelligence, situational awareness, managing conflict, delegating, mentoring, coaching, empowerment, and building collaboration and synergy for professional growth. This course includes the development of a professional plan for active engagement in the provision of leadership and supervision. So when Chief Marie goes to this, he's really doing a great service to the town of Milton, and we should be very proud of him as well. And he was selected, and that will be a 6-day course. And so we should be very proud of him as well. Another thing I'd like to recognize is that we've had a selectman here join us for the last couple of months and really pick up the torch. And thank you, Selectman Long.
Thank you for inviting me, for selecting me. I've had a good time. No, not really. I would not want to be in your shoes. The decisions that you people have to make are really important to the best and welfare of this town. Thank you.
Well, thank you for jumping on board, and we appreciate that. We actually have a cake for you tonight.
Well, thank you.
And we hope you'll enjoy it. So after we're done, maybe you can enjoy the cake. And
Well, you're not going to share it with me?
Of course, do you want it? Well, we've got a knife for you to cut it afterwards. So we hope you'll enjoy it. And we do have a cake for the fire chief to celebrate with his officers on Wednesday because this is such a big deal as well.
Right.
So I just wanted to point that out. And hopefully everybody will get out and vote next week. So that's what I have for administrator comments tonight.
Okay, Selectmen's comments. Mr. Long.
Nope, I'm fine.
All right, I also wanted to thank Tim for serving on the Board of Selectmen for the last couple of months. It's been a pleasure working with you on this board as well as previously on the planning board. And thank you for your service and wish you the best. On another note, elections are coming up Tuesday, March 13th. Hope everyone gets out to vote. I just want to say, obviously anybody that goes by my house knows my opinion, where I think we need to move forward. And I hope that if you go by, you get a chuckle out of it. Whether you agree with me or not, that's fine. But on a serious note, I am looking forward to a new year on the Board of Selectmen. And regardless of who is elected, I want to be a team player. And I'm sure whoever's going to be elected is going to be a team player. And we will all work together, put our differences aside, to move the town in a forward, positive direction. That's it.
Okay. So I'm up next. I do want to thank Mr. Long for joining us in picking up where we left off with the empty seat. So I appreciate all his help, and thank your wife for us for sharing you. I do want to thank the rec department for Karen Brown and her colleagues for putting a good carnival on this year. There was a lot of work there involved, and we had a good turnout. So anybody who's helped her do that, I want to thank them. So in closing, I just want to say, dear Milton residents, thank you for putting your trust in me for the past 4 years. I hope you have come to know me and the things I have cared about as I've served you as your selectman. It has been my honor to serve you in the town of Milton. As your selectman, I have worked hard and fought to make Milton a better place to live and raise your family. I do not believe I am done with my role, and I hope to continue this journey with you. As you all know, I have been a strong supporter in the Conservation Committee, the ball fields, our dedicated employees, outstanding department heads, the Recreation Committee, and I have stood against letting a landfill come into our little town. I am here for you, your families, and I'm working hard to address the problems that we discovered in our assessment this year. My goals are your goals, to make Milton the best town I can, with honesty, integrity, transparency, budgetary resistance. We all want to be proud to call Milton our home, as it is the best little town in New Hampshire. Thank you for the opportunities to serve you, as there is much more work to be done in moving Milton forward, and I am committed to see it through. So I just want to again thank everybody, and I take this job very seriously, and hopefully we can continue on our journey. So thanks again. So do you want to do other business?
Let's just get these two.
Okay, so other business before public comments.
Close the bidding on the fire station.
So do you want to make a motion to close the fire station bids?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to close the bidding on the old fire station.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. What's that? And unfortunately on the pup.
Yep. So a little while ago, was an announcement made that we were accepting a donation of a police canine. And after some weeks of training, I'd like to let the chief speak on the findings and where we stand.
So the first meeting in January, we accepted a donation from Controlled Canine for the 3-year-old Dutch Shepherd Xander. We've been training with Xander since then with New Hampshire Police Canine Academy, and it has been found that Xander doesn't have the needed drives to continue on within the program and to pass the program. So unfortunately, Xander's not going to continue on in that training. Their suggestion is he not be used as a police canine just because he doesn't have the drives for it. So my suggestion to the board is that we contact Controlled Canine back and see if they will take Xander back.
I'll make a motion Chief Kraus contacts Control K9 LLC to see if they'll take the K9 back.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I just want to thank the chief for all his dedicated time that he did put into the dog to try to, have our own K9, but unfortunately it just didn't work. So, but he did spend a lot of his own time, all his own time, trying to train the dog. So, thank you, Chief. Is that it on the other business?
That was it.
We're good. So up next, public comments.
You know, I
Mrs.
have one.
Sure, Mrs. McDougal, go ahead.
My name's Lynette McDougal, and tonight I have to say for the first time, I am ashamed of you selectmen. Every single one of you, except for you, Tim, and of our town administrator. I have never seen anybody publicly humiliated, number one. Stats that are not valid. You guys did not do your homework. I'm sorry. I'm ashamed. As far as you, if you don't know your job, and if they give out offer from the banks, classes, take them. They'll help you with your job. That goes for all of you guys. If you don't like something, make a procedure. There is no planning or procedure here. You're getting things from old selectmen, old rules. You guys need to bring things together because this is chaos. And not only that, Ryan, you're rude. Don't talk to someone down in public. Give her the respect of being able to voice herself. That's what I was upset about. That was rude. And now I'm having to be rude, and I apologize for that. But I think you guys are wrong in how you handle this completely. And that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Lynette. Do you have a rebuttal, or are you all set?
There's rules and RSAs that we have to follow, and 91A is very clear, unfortunately. Discussions with elected officials have to be done in public.
Yes,
And
but, excuse me, I'm sorry.
And unfortunately, this issue has gone on for years, and it's been hidden in non-public, which it should not have been.
Are you done? Because what I'd like to say back is, yes, you are right on that. But you came on, and you've been here for a year, and you never said a word. You never said a word, Ryan. You guys didn't even know that a lot of these things existed. You didn't know that we had records right here in-house. You know, and please don't look at me like that, because I don't appreciate that. You didn't know. And I'm not saying that's bad on you. What I'm saying is we need more procedures, more planning. Ryan, I like the idea of going by RSA. We should have been doing it a long time ago. What I don't like is how it's being done. We got a lot of good citizens here, and we put you guys where you're at. Every single one of you. By disrespecting someone in front of everyone, you have disrespected us.
I disagree, and all I will say is that anytime I'm going to have a discussion with any department head or anything like happened tonight, I always give them the courtesy of what I'm going to be talking about ahead of time. And I called Mrs. Arnold over a week ago and had this conversation with her. So there was nothing blindsided about this.
Oh, I didn't say blindsided.
And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay.
But this has gone on and on
And
for years in non-public. And I will say, for the short time I've been on the board, I've witnessed it a couple times in non-public, and it has got to stop.
Well, yes, you're right, but you guys are not helping it right now the way you're going about it.
And I will respond that I have asked many times for records, and they have not been given to me. And I'm not the only one that has asked that
I'd
question.
like to see things that are in black and white, because you guys can say something, she can say something. I want to see facts. I'm tired of he said, she said, because that's what I heard a lot of tonight. Show me the records over there in the filing cabinet. Show me the keys.
I would love to.
Show me the past minutes where Andy I remember her and you guys talking about her, what did you call it?
Stipend?
Yes, things
mileage?
like that. Yeah, and there were these things in our records, but that should have been looked at. So you could say, look, here in black and white. Instead, it sounded like a witch hunt. And Ryan, I respect you for what you say. Yes, those are a lot of pieces of paper. I appreciate that. But how they were gotten, and if you had the right to have them, is another thing. I don't know. I know that we did have people come in and audit. I didn't hear anything talked about that audit that was good or bad or anything else. From what I understand from audits, they're to help us improve, not only define what isn't right.
Well, that's why Selectman Tebow mentioned, the auditors, have, suggested that this is the way that we should be doing it,
And that's a good suggestion. But you don't knock the person for not, you guys have the power. Tell her, that's what we're gonna start doing. Instead, beating her up. I'm sorry, oh my God. You make me not want to run for anything, because you know what? I would hate to be the one you guys hit next. And I think that's why so many people don't run.
I'm sorry you feel that way, Mrs. McDougal, because that certainly isn't the way that this, and I'm sorry that you perceived it this way, but unfortunately, the Board of Selectmen have a duty, okay? And our duty is to make sure the funds of this town are in proper order. And unfortunately, they're not. And that's our duty, and we will make sure they are. And
Black and white, that's all I ask, black and white. You've
Yeah.
got some papers there, I want to see them. I want everyone to see them. Publish these papers. Don't sit there and tell me you have something when I haven't seen it. I don't know what you're talking about.
If they're on the internet.
well, and you have,
these
So
just
are
like
the bank
everybody else
statements. The
can
bank
do.
statements are on the internet. And you guys didn't know about those.
and you're welcome to come in to ask for any of this paperwork. It's
Well,
already,
it's too late now. You guys have already made choices for people, haven't you?
and they're the right choices. They have to be the right
Well,
choices.
I hope they are. I hope they are.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize that you feel that way. Okay, and up now, Larry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just change the tone of the conversation just slightly, which is that this is a joke. In your remarks, you forgot to say that Milton is the best town by a dam site.
That's good, Larry.
And the other thing is that the reason we haven't brought the cake out is we've been advised by the fire chief that we are not permitted to have candles in Selectmen's Hall for the fire. And the other one that Andy picked up on is that I always thought that lagoon diver was the job spec for Selectmen.
It would have to.
Lately.
Yeah. I'm speechless.
That's the easy part. The harder thing is that one of the best things I learned as state rep is you always said, thank you for the question, even when you violently disagreed with the person asking it, and their reason for it, their motivation, and the rest. And I like standards, I like process, and I am not particularly anyone's friend. I fired the guy who was my high school friend, who sat behind me in homeroom because he was falsifying his time records when I was his supervisor in social work. Nobody can survive a time and task record at 15-minute intervals, 8 hours a day for a month. No one. And I want accurate facts. I want an accurate timeline. And I don't want someone to be stuck in the punchline of an old Red Skelton joke. He asks his wife for $1, and the punchline is always, what did you do with the $1 I promised you last week? Unless you have a timeline, as Lynette was saying, for events done under a particular standard, when that standard changed, and what the person did from that point on, you don't have a defensible a case. And that is my, you know, chips fall, chips fell yesterday, chips will fall tomorrow. But it should be a clear and defensible a record. And it is bothersome that the problem of Pam Arnold will be solved if she loses. And then the conversation and the ability to follow the direction of the Board of the Selectmen will come to a new person in that position. A cynic would say that it is not courteous to do this less than a week before election, when the events that you were discussing are ongoing. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very
No. But again, the selectmen, I've defended Andy. I enjoy working with Ryan, and it is structured. And whatever the structure proves, I'm all for it.
Thank you. John Cadwick.
My name is John Cadwick. I'm glad I come tonight. I haven't been here much recently, but I've worked a lot on bank statements. And I'd like to quickly, not spend a couple hours on it, discuss the problems that I have with bank statements. And the bank statements with me, the townhouse restoration, whatever business I handle, have been very poor. I've requested a bank statement for the last year by everybody sitting up there, right, or most everybody sitting up there right now, and I addressed it to you, Andy, the last time to make sure it would get done. It's been 5 months, and I understood that I couldn't get a bank statement, so I also requested copies of all the invoices and all the deposit slips. I have them. I know my numbers are correct, and all I want to do is work as a team with either you gentlemen or Pam Arnold or whoever, so that we can correct the problem. The problem that I've had is not the first time. We've made progress before by sitting down as a team and correcting the problem. It was always on the treasurer's responsibility, but I'm not throwing stones at anybody. All I'm saying is, I think we're probably missing the boat here. And it goes right back to that word team. And I've stressed it for the last 3 or 4 years. And unfortunately, guys, I think we're doing a poor job at it. And I got to say, honestly, that, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but it is election time. And if you want to watch the video at Candidates Night, I think it will answer all your questions. And I agree with the final statement that was made by a moderator. I think he did a superb job, and he was right on the money. And I suggest that, I think there's over 230 or 40 that's looked at that video already. I would hope to see another 230 or 40, and I think that we're at a stage right now, and I've listened to all these comments tonight and throughout the last year, something's got to change. That's all I have to say. Except I'd like to, now that I know the statements are here, maybe before I go home, maybe when you go to this locked up drawer, give me the statement for the townhouse restoration, if you would, please. I have no more.
Okay. Anybody else?
Fine.
Sure. Go
This is
ahead.
Vanny sitting back here. Thomas McDougall. Just a question. We've got an opportunity every year for at least one person new to come on the board. It sounds like there's a lot of things that need to happen. It needs to occur when that happens. Is it written down anywhere? Is there, I really hate the phrase onboarding because we've used it at every company I've worked at, but is there an onboarding process that, okay, we have a selectman come in, this is what has to happen, A, B, C, D, E, he has to go here, he has to go here, he has to sign this, he has to fill out these papers, or is it written down and is it updated and accurate? It sounds like probably it's not accurate with regards to bank statements that are, Max, he might have to sign signature cards, but is there something like that so that we can capture all the things that have to be done when we have a new elected official? And it's not just a Board of Selectmen member, it could be a Budget Committee member, it could be a treasurer, it could be a fire chief. Is there anything that we have written down that says, hey, we've got somebody new, they have to fill out a W-2, they have to, whatever else you might have to do, sign bank cards. Do we have this listed any? Because it sounded like some of what happened was we didn't have that. And a similar thing for when somebody leaves, he's left, we need to final disbursement of his paycheck or whatever. You know, he needs to be taken off of these accounts. He can't be on the account at the hardware store anymore, whatever.
Well, we have it for employees.
Mm.
We have for elected officials, not so much, except for usually it happens at the same time every year.
Yeah.
So it's pretty simple that there's a swearing in. We figure that out. I mean,
They can't hear you.
oh, sorry guys. Hi. I'm trying to answer him. I said we have it for employees, and we have it for when they leave and when they come and go. We're trying to figure out swearing in because usually it happens at the same time. And we were trying to figure out a good swearing in date. Actually today, Michelle and I were talking about that and how that was going to transpire. We do not necessarily have it all written down. It's a lot of it. I know we have training. There is training for selectmen. That happens. I got the dates today actually for that. For the new selectmen when they
I mean,
come on board.
when I became selectman, I mean, it's just protocol, you know. I signed my things that I needed to sign to sign checks and get on the bank. I got my code to get into the building, and I got my keys, and I got right to work. I mean, it's not really a lot of, as long as you get onto the bank, and Pam took care of that. So,
yes, it's not a lot, but it sounds like, for whatever reason, stuff is, especially when somebody is left unexpectedly, it sounds like, maybe if a checklist was created, even just a simple, yep, he's done the bank, he's done his W-2, he's done this, he's got the alarm code, here's his master key, his number, whatever. And then when they leave, yep, okay, you've taken him off the account, we've taken him off the, his number's not good for the alarm anymore, whatever. It sounds like some of that going to, as was mentioned, procedures. I'm a big fan of procedures, but they're really good sometimes. But, just a checklist of, hey, we had somebody new come in the building that's going to be here, this is what we've got to do for them, elected official or employee, and they left. These are what we have to make sure we do. I'm just saying that might help alleviate some of what's happening. That's all.
okay.
Just a suggestion.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Anybody? Yeah.
One last question. If there's anybody watching this or anybody in the audience that knows anything about MacBooks, I'm getting a warning screen when I turn this thing on. Somebody could help me with it. It's not there now. Everybody turned around. I don't know anything about Macintoshes. Something about my startup disk is full. I'm lost. Okay.
Check the template.
I wish it was as simple.
Okay, so is there any other public comments tonight?
When we left the deliberative session, there was a motion to thank the moderator. One should be entered for thanking the moderator for candidates night too, even though it's after the fact.
Right.
He does good work.
Yeah, he is. He's a great guy.
Steady and reliable.
So in closing, thank you. So in closing, under other business that might become before the board, here is 3 pitches. The department heads have helped us a little bit on.
Town hall employees.
What's that?
Town hall employees. We took it upon us.
Yeah, town hall employees have numbered these, and
We voted.
they're all beautiful pitches. How this all came about was I asked, I did a little photo contest because we have some great people in Milton that are amateur photographers, and So these 3 pitches came in, and this is how this little contest came about. And we're gonna, I guess, hang them up and
Yep.
and let people look at them, and
And we'll just tell them who won first, second, and third.
yeah.
They're all
Okay.
very good.
So are you satisfied with that?
Yep.
Okay.
They're all nice.
I just have 2 more announcements.
All right. Go ahead.
Voters Guide are gonna go out tomorrow. So everybody who's been waiting with bated breath for the Voters Guide, it's going out in the mail tomorrow. And the town report, we should get a copy tomorrow, I've been told. We will have one here tomorrow, and then we should start getting them after that. So, but we will have a copy here tomorrow. So we will have them.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Heather. All set? Do we need to go into a non-public? Or are we all set?
We're done with that.
Done, okay. So,
Make a motion to
motion to adjourn? I'll second it. All in favor? You second it. All in
Let's
favor?
call up in the fire station.
Aye. Yeah.
Okay?